So a number of years ago, I was running a software startup company, and we were in desperate need of talented developers. And a young man who was in our development group came up to me and said, "Hey, Rick, I know this guy. He was the brightest kid in my high school class, but for some reason he didn't make it through college. Nobody knows why. He's back home, and he needs a job. Will you be interested in hiring him? Because he's probably the best programmer I've ever met in my life. He does things that people have just never thought of." And I looked at him and said, "Yeah, I don't care whether he went to college or not. All I care about is whether he can code." So this guy came in, and he did amazing things, stuff that, as advertised, basically. But sure enough, 6 months later, the head of engineering came in and said, "Rick, we have a problem." And I said, "What's up?" He said, "We got to let him go." Like, "What are you talking about? This guy is way outside the box right now. We need people like this." He said, "Well, he's not showing up to work until 11 o'clock in the morning, and we start at 8. He refuses to fix his bugs because he says it's boring. And he refuses to document his code because apparently that's boring too." So what would you do in this situation? I mean, here's a guy that's basically disobeying his manager, and he's showing up to work at 11. What would you have done? Here's what I did. I looked at the head of engineering, and I said, "I'm not thinking of letting him go. I'm thinking of letting you go." And his eyes got big, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "You're not thinking outside the box. You need to do something different here. Let's do this. Let's hire a bug fixer, and if you want to get someone with a college degree, that's cool by me, because they will learn more in 6 months of watching this guy code than they ever learned in college. And let's hire a documenter, and then let's let them work whatever hours they want to work. Who cares?" And that's what we did. How do you think they did? Amazing. They took off. They helped transform the company, this team. And in this case, this young man, he was brilliant, and he was necessary. So 2 years ago, Tom Bergeron and I were in our office. And no, I have to clarify, apparently, not that Tom Bergeron. He gets that all the time. It's really frustrating for him. We're brainstorming ideas, and Tom was really excited about doing a business incubator. He thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could do startups every day? Because we both love startups. And I agreed with him. I said, "Yeah, that would be cool. That would be awesome. Let's do it. But let's think about it a little more." And our conversation shifted, and we started talking about family members that we have that have what we call learning differences. Some people call them learning disabilities. We don't like that term that much. And we were concerned about them because we were concerned about what they were going to face both in the academic environment and in a standard work environment, and what they were going to face when they were older. So a little bit later that afternoon, I had that, I guess, I hate to say it, it's almost overused, the aha moment, right? And I ran back in and grabbed Tom, and I said, "Wait a minute, I got an idea. What if we did this? This would make us unique. What if we created a research lab and business incubator that took these people with learning differences and put it together? What if we gave them a place where they could figure out what their true passions were and then turn those passions into a livelihood?" And we thought about that a little more, and the flashbulbs started going off in our heads, the typical ones where you start thinking in your past. And we thought of all the people that probably had learning differences in our companies and how they worked and how they transformed some of the companies that we were involved in. So at that point, like good entrepreneurs, we dug into the stats. Don't worry, I won't bore you too much. We wanted to see if this thing had legs. So we started on the learning differences side. We wanted to understand what it was like to go through school with learning differences. And here's some quotes that you might expect. Some people said teachers thought they were stupid. One guy graduated 8th from the bottom of his class of 1,200. One guy said, "If I'm not interested, I'm not going to grasp it." Guess who these people were? This might surprise you. David Neeleman, the founder of JetBlue. Adam Levine from Maroon 5 and The Voice, and I'm told he's like the sexiest man alive or something. Paul Arfala of Kinko's, and a guy I admire a lot, Sir Richard Branson from the Virgin Group, Virgin Airways, Virgin Records, and a whole bunch of other companies. He's both ADHD and dyslexic. So that was interesting to us. Then we dug deeper. And there's a lot more successful people out there. I don't know if you realize this, but the name brand entrepreneurs that you know, the famous celebrities and sports stars, a lot of them had learning differences. So they found a way, despite their learning differences, to become successful. A lot of them say that was their key to their success. So this was, again, getting more interesting, but then we dug into the cold, hard realities of what people face. I think we can all agree today that the importance of a college degree today is at an all-time high. I mean, right now, if you don't have a college degree, the unemployment rate is 20%. 2 years ago, when we first looked at starting the company, it was 30% during the recession. So it's tough if you don't get a college degree. And then for people with ADHD, just to give you a flavor for that, we found some stats on that. And people with ADHD, to me, they're if you look at what the traits are, they're creative, they're entrepreneurial, they have a zest for life, they're empathetic, they're really engaging people. Those are the people I kind of want to hang out with. I don't know about you. But if you're ADHD and you get into college, you only have a 15% chance of graduating. We actually found a study that said 5%. And for people with learning differences, it actually is the similar kind of profile. It's hard for them to get through. So if you can't get a degree and you can't get a job, where are you? Well, we found them. These are the bright kids back home. I bet you know somebody in this situation. These are the ones that didn't make it through. Some of them had perfect SAT scores. Some were the class president. Some were the captain of the football team. Some were even the valedictorian of their high schools. When they got to college, it overwhelmed them, and they didn't make it through. So they feel like failures when they're back home. They're at a dead end. They're stuck, probably in the basement. It's surprising how many are, playing video games or something like that. And then over time, the pressure builds. The just get a job starts with the family. You know, welcome to the real world. You didn't make it through. Go flip burgers. Go work at the grocery store stacking shelves. Just get out of the house and go do something. Guess what job they gravitate to? Night watchman. You know why? Because the noise stops. It's quiet. They're alone. It's dark. Does that sound fair? I don't think so. The other victims here are the parents and their families. The parents didn't plan for this. They had worked from elementary school to middle school to high school to get their kid to college. They dealt with IEPs in some cases, which are assistance for people that have disabilities in the school system, if you don't know about that. And they launched their kid to college. They were thrilled, and then 6 months later, they're back home. They start questioning everything they've done as a parent. They start to say, could I have been harder on them? Could I have been easier on them? Neighbors start to question their ability as a parent. It's a tough situation for everybody. I say it's not anybody's fault. Society has defined a path that people need to take, which includes college and taking the normal job, and some of these folks just can't take that path. They need an alternative path, and there aren't any good ones. So at this point, we knew we were onto something, and we put up a website with messaging to gauge interest in our idea. And as we started getting applications, we were blown away by the number. We got them from all over the world, and the message. The common theme amongst all these people that were reaching out to us is they wanted to change the world, but nobody was listening. It was almost eerie, the number of applications. It was like they were copying each other. It was a surreal experience. So for us, it was at this point that Tom and I knew we weren't just starting a company. We were actually going to try to change the world. Necessary brilliance was being wasted. So we opened our doors a year ago, and we created that research lab and business incubator where these young adults and adults can come and figure out what they're truly passionate about and then educate them just enough on what it takes to create a business or make money or maybe even go back to college in the right place at the right major. We find a way to make that happen. For us, unlike most business incubators where a 1 in 10 success rate is considered good, you get the one home run and you can brag about it, our target's 10 out of 10. Now, we may not get there. It's tough. but that's our target. But here's why our target can be that. For us, a win can be as simple as opening a corner store. And somebody is now out of the basement, out of the house, making money, doing what they love, and not answering to anybody else because they didn't get that degree. So for us, we see that as a win. We don't have to create the next Google, but we think we might. But let me tell you some stories about the place. Young woman named Rebecca is her formal name, from Melbourne, Australia. She was stuck being a bank teller, and she was dreaming of being a fashion designer. She was trying to Google her way out of her situation, like a lot of them do, looking for answers, and she came across our website. We got on a Skype with her immediately when she reached out to us, and she started to tell her story. She was trying to get a business degree. She hit the dreaded core course requirement that everyone has to pass a certain course. And for her, it was human resources. 100% of the grade was based on the final exam, and it was an essay exam. And she can't write fast. So through tears, she told us that she failed the class twice. And then she said, and Rick, it wasn't even close. I failed it miserably. And she couldn't get the degree. So she was looking for an alternative. So we got her across on an internship. She left Australia. She quit her job, sold her car, rented her house, said goodbye to a long-term boyfriend, said goodbye to her family, and came halfway around the world to Boston to be with us. Guess what the first question she asked was? She leaned over as she got off the jetway and kind of said meekly, Rick, do you think I'm going to be successful? And I looked at her and I said, Rebecca, actually I laughed, and she probably didn't know how to take that because it's the first time we met. And I said, Rebecca, when you step from that jetway in Australia onto that Airbus 380 and the door shut behind you, that question was answered. It's only now a question of how you're going to be successful. So after we built the place, we had this field of dreams kind of experience. The phone started ringing. Every week, people were reaching out to us. Senior business execs were reaching out to us, industrial designers, makers, 3D printer gurus, software developers. The list goes on and on. They all wanted to help. Many had struggled in their past, and they wanted to give back. Some of them said they became wildly successful in the 30s, these entrepreneurs, and they didn't want to see these young adults suffer like they did through their 20s. They consider their 20s their lost years. But when they come in, we have to give them a warning, because they come in and do sessions, like lunch sessions, and we have to warn them how it's going to be when they present, because it's a different kind of place. They walk in and we tell them people are going to be texting, they're going to be Facebooking, they're going to be Googling, they're going to be YouTubing, they're going to be playing games, and they're going to be spinning in chairs, and it's going to be very distracting. But they're multitasking, and they're locked in, and they're listening. Wait until you get to the end and see what they say. They will ask you questions that you haven't been asked before. Sure enough, every time they come out, they say, you're right, I'm blown away. And that leads me to our key learning. So at the lab, what we've learned is acceptance drives creativity. These guys haven't had a lot of acceptance in their lives. It's been painful for them. When they come to the lab, the outside noise stops. The walls block it out. The just get a job, do something, what's wrong with you? A lot of that stuff is going on before they get there. The one thing they hate the most, you had so much potential. Don't say that to them. They hate that. The walls stop the noise. Acceptance occurs within the walls, and it takes a while, but then the creativity explodes. So after a year, here's what we have going on. We have people opening game stores, writing novels, writing graphic novels, inventing things, making smoothies. Rebecca, when she goes back, she plans to launch her new beachwear line in Australia. She's got it all designed. She's been cranking. And finally, the app team. Now, these guys used to have names, but they're like a unit now. They've lost their names. They're just known as the app team. Where's the app team? Are they coming for lunch? They are locked in. So they figured out an app idea when they first came there. They then found a developer for it. Then they created a pitch deck. And then they went to Washington, D.C. about 2.5 weeks ago, and they closed on nearly $300,000 in seed financing for their new company. So they're starting their company December 1st, and none of them went to college. And I put them up in a pitch deck competition against anybody. These guys are awesome. So this place is working. They have purpose in their lives. The dead end is no longer a dead end. The basements are emptying. So given all of this, I have a question. Why are we the only place in the world doing this? With 15 million people in the US with ADHD and 10% of the population with dyslexia, why are we the only place in the world doing this? I don't get it. It's just unfathomable to me. These young adults should not be wasted. Now, I know that's a big question, but the bottom line is we need more places like ours. We're a small place in Massachusetts. It's a worldwide problem. We know that because we get calls all the time saying, when are you coming to my country? We need you here. We even got a call from Trinidad and Tobago, and they said, we need a place like this here. The demand is huge. So we can't do it ourselves. If you want to help, please reach out to us. We have lots of ideas. Lots of ideas. So be forewarned. And if you can't engage with us directly, consider this. If you're a college or a university, we're in one. How about following the University of Rochester's example? No required courses. Students get to take what they love. Our guys want to take your hardest courses. That's what they want to do. You're forcing them to take the easy ones, and then when they fail out because they're not interested, you're filtering these guys out. It's crazy. So Becca should have gotten her degree. She could have done that in that case. She would have taken finance instead of human resources and finished. And imagine that, a fashion designer with a finance degree. That's a pretty deadly combination. At work, hire bug fixers, right? Allow chair spinning. Become a mentor. And if you're looking for talent in the workplace or life in general, think of it that way, I challenge you, don't tick the box that says college degree required. Don't do it. And you just may meet that person that truly can change the world. Stop wasting this necessary brilliance.